Hey, JulesBlessedVegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. People, I have been in the thick of my disease. I'm not even kidding you. I'm just like, oh my gosh, my ability to disassociate, to manipulate, like I just wake up and realize, oh my Lord, what are you doing? What have you been doing? I mean, I can't even. It's just confessions of a freaking compulsive overeater. That's me, and a binge eater. And I feel bad because I tell people I'm vegan. And so they want me to see me healthy, which for 1 second I was. But I, you know, I'm not living in the present. I'm not using the tools that I learned to use. And by not living in the present is my greatest demise. I will say that right away. So something was coming up and it was going to be like a month or two out. And I felt so threatened by it that automatically I stopped living in the present. I immediately was so busy thinking about the what ifs and the oh my goshes and how uncomfortable I was that I just started disassociating. I was just eating a bunch of standard American diet stuff, and even if it's vegan, it's junk food vegan, right? And even if it's technically in the far reaches of what's acceptable for me, it was too much of that. And did I notice my clothes getting smaller? Of course I did. But it's amazing how much you can fit into a pair of pants, right? Like there's a big range there, from fitting comfortably to fitting terrifically uncomfortably, but still fitting. And so, no, my husband kept saying, do you need more clothes? God bless my husband. And it's a laugh or cry. Excuse me. A laugh or cry moment. I am so insanely blessed, okay? Like, oh my goodness. Let me just give a side note. So yesterday was the 35th anniversary of our first date, and it was a blind date. I'd spoken to him on the phone once, and then I met him at this restaurant, and he had this cute little teddy bear that said best friends in a rose, which I thought was really presumptuous. So I'm like, dude, you don't even know me. But anyway, I was pouting yesterday because I had finished my 28th year of teaching and I never received a certificate of any kind. And it's because I was always either switching schools or switching districts or whatever, and I missed them. The one district that I was in had a 10-year, but I left before that. And the next district I was in had a 20-year, but I left at the 18-year mark. And now I'm in another district, which I don't even know if they do it at all. And so this time of year, along with graduations, teachers are often celebrating their marks. And so I was kind of pouting and saying I never got one. Okay, so this morning I wake up and he's made me a certificate saying, congratulations, what a phenomenal teacher. I mean, okay, I'm crazy blessed. And like, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's suddenly stopping all meat when I was a meat connoisseur and would eat triple bacon cheeseburgers, oh my gosh, or if I'm like so stressed out that I'm obviously not noticing that I'm like putting on weight and not eating the way I prefer. My biggest clue on that is not only the discomfort of the clothes, which is just terrible, to where I'm freaking out in the morning and trying on 10 different tops. And it's not news to anyone that I've put on weight but me. And my husband's just like, oh my gosh, here we go again, right? He's so awesome. But also when food starts to go bad, right? Food is going bad in the fridge and I'm overfeeding my pig. And so like my pig's putting on weight too because she's like, Mom, why are you giving me so much? Well, because I haven't been eating my fresh fruit and vegetables like I should. And I'm giving you that before it spoils. I mean, it's just like this whole terrible thing. And so what is it? Like, what is it that has me in this situation? Well, like I said, I did have stress over a situation for sure. And I was sorry that I worried about it instead of preparing for it. The other thing is, and just going back a little ways, is that I was really devastated by a really precious person in my life who just ditched me, just absolutely hung up on our friendship, which I didn't really process. I didn't really process that. I definitely, I know that was something that I started eating over and not honoring myself through. And and I have ways to process that, but I didn't. And I know that was sort of the beginning of really just getting me on a tangent. The other thing is, I know that God's been telling me to take a leap of faith in a certain area of my life, which I've done this so many times where I stay in a situation to appease the people instead of really considering my own needs and certainly the needs of my family. And I've accidentally done that. And I hear him, but I'm just like, Father, I just don't know how. I just don't know how I can do it. And all of these things have resulted in my longest standing coping mechanism, which is food and abusing food. You know, I made it through alcoholism. I made it through pig. I'm thinking of Luna. Pill addiction, right? Playing with pills. And there's a lot of things that I've had the grace for, and food is my last manipulation that is absolutely devastating me. And it's no surprise that when you go back to what you did, you get what you got back then. And so I've been kind of asthmatic because anything besides God's food affects my body that way. And of course, like I said, I'm carrying a bunch of weight that's super uncomfortable for me. And now, even though nobody cares, people are just like, Julianne, I'm just stoked to see you. You know, I love you. For me, it's always, I always come down to a number. I'm only as good as what the scale says. And of course, that's a huge irony, because do I honor a scale, or do I honor a God who's merciful and so much greater than that, you know? And yet, in my denial, I ignore the scale, and then when I get on it and get that reality check, besides the discomfort of my clothes, it's so horrific. Luckily, I don't go to suicidal anymore. Like, I don't get crazy that way, but my worth was based on the number on the scale for many, many years. And if you've been following me, as I had suggested, I've kind of got caught. It's weird. Part of it, in wanting to get out of the diet mentality and out of the disordered eating, I decided that I was willing to gain some weight because I was willing to go ahead and eat beyond the recommended 1,400 calories or maybe 1,600 calories. And I was willing to take that risk. Well, of course, you're required to only eat the raw vegan food, right? Or at best, fruit and vegetables all day and a starch component at night. But none of the packaged nonsense, none of the, fake food, and oil or salt or any of that. So yes, you can certainly exceed those calories and it'll be fine, for your body, but not if you're incorporating the nonsense, okay? Which I totally know. And by you, I mean me. And so anyway, I was willing to take that risk, but because of the mindset that I've been in, I was absolutely sabotaging myself every minute, And then at the same time, because it's an old behavior of mine too, where I was like, okay, I'll step up the exercise to try and compensate for the food. Well, there's nothing more intimate than the food we put in our bodies, and you cannot outrun a bad diet, right? So yes, exercising is great, but if you're poisoning yourself every day, it's not going to work. Okay, so this is just me kind of coming to, which happened a little bit ago. But again, I started to panic. And one of the things was, I think when you come from disordered eating, which I certainly do, and also have a controlling mentality when it comes to food, which of course I do. I mean, dieting starting since 3rd grade, knowing to count every single calorie. I could tell you the calorie content of any food. like all the game and control around that, measuring, weighing, which I know these are tools that people use to get well. But for me, it's just more sick. It's a more sick mind frame. And it's a chance to be very abusive to myself because I become so perfectionistic that I just become very verbally abusive. It's just really bad. So, anyway, wanting to get out of that, I stopped the intermittent fasting, which was scary enough. And then I added calories. And I know it works. I have a ton of testimonials that it works. People do gain weight initially, but their metabolism figures it out and they just lose it. But it wasn't about that. It was about me getting into the teacher's lounge and having stuff that didn't belong to me. It was about me being in my car and consuming food prior to getting home and then consuming food again, all out of fear based, all out of somehow feeling full in this moment is going to fill me. Food has never been a solution. It has never been a solution. I know this. But that's another thing. It's never about the knowledge, right? Because I'm either disassociating or living in my little kid or giving my power away to others. And just one other thing, and I'm not even looking for solutions, you guys, because I already know it, even though I do need to talk about it instead of eating over it. But another big thing for me was obviously the kitchen is a very important part of my life. And my husband considered that when he said we're going to tear the kitchen apart. Like he set up a little tiny kitchen, if you will, with the blender and stuff on the table. But it was so threatening to me because people were also coming to help. So they were going to be in the house, which wasn't very comfortable for me. And a lot of that comes with the disordered eating mentality too, a need to protect myself, to make sure that my little area is provided for. And especially if I'm not eating properly and I have that deceptive mindset that I want to hide and consume things without people knowing. It's so sad because I'm a grown-up, but I operate from a child when I'm in this frame of mind. And again, so much of it comes to giving my power away. And so my in my panicking, I immediately thought, I'm not gonna be provided for. I'm not enough. Nothing is safe here. So I better, I don't know, start consuming food now so I'll be okay later. I don't, you know what, people, there's so much. And I just need to get back into journaling and figuring it out instead of trying to anesthetize myself with food, So I just wanted to get to you guys because I have so much shame and I'm so sorry for that. But I do have people coming to stay with us and, people see us from here up and I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're going to see me and they're just going to say, was it something you ate? Again, I have to laugh or cry. And everybody has their stuff. I'm just so sorry to find myself in this position once again in my life because it's been too many times, I was totally normal weight. As a child, I was a skinny little kid. I was totally normal weight, by all accounts through my sophomore year of college, but I didn't know it. And so I was always binging and starving and over exercising, and I didn't prefer to purge, but I certainly did that at times. And I was doing everything I could to manipulate everything I could because I didn't ever feel like I was acceptable or enough. And finally, when I said screw it all, when I was 23, I just put on my first 100 pounds, and I've lost and gained 100 pounds, more than 6 times as an adult. I did not expect to be in this place again. I'm so sorry for it. But I just need to tell you guys the truth out loud because I can't stand the idea of promoting deception either on this channel. My goal was to always tell people where I was at. So that's where I'm at, people. Coming to once again in a really bad place and kind of needing to start by just sharing my truth with you guys so that this is a safe place for me to be. And because I know many people can relate. So I do have things coming up I do have the kitchen situation. I do have guests coming. I'm starting summer school. I'm doing a lot of things and I want to be well. But yeah, I just had to say that out loud so I don't feel like I'm hiding. All right, my friends, that's my story right now. Like if you like, join us if you haven't. Subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how I may support you. Can you relate at all? And maybe your story isn't 100 pounds, but maybe you understand the controlling of not one more bite or not being enough depending on what the scale says, or punishing yourself if you dare to eat one bite off your plan, or feeling invaded if someone enters your space, or if your food isn't completely organized and your kitchen area not completely available. Are you going to be okay? Like, can you relate to that? Or are you just free? I would love to know if you were just free. That'd be brilliant too. But most of us come from some form of disordered eating, and that's all mine. So thanks for letting me share, you guys. Until we talk again, best of all, know that you're blessed.